So you said you had 3 pounds of trimmings. The first thing that popped into my head is that the police aren't sophisticated enough to know that trimmings are not the same thing as buds. That sounds like a legally problematic amount of pot.
No, trimmings looks like
Does it smell like pot though? Like
so here's the thing. It would have been the same amount of trouble that I got in, regardless of the. Yeah, it'd have been too much trouble for sure. But it was one of those things where like my friend brought him over and I cooked him up right then, and then we ate brownies. You know, I wasn't sitting around with.
That's
3
another
pounds
thing I've heard. Now, this could be wrong because I'm no expert, but I've heard people get in trouble for owning massive amounts of pot because they weigh it the brownie, right? Whereas it should be something like equivalent, right? But they're like, dude, this is like 9 pounds of pot. Because that's, I don't know what a brownie.
Yeah, that's how they weigh it. Yeah. They'll also weigh the container a lot of times, right? Especially if it's
my wife makes brownies in a glass.
Well, not in that case. I meant it varies state by state if we're talking about state law. But like with methamphetamine or cocaine, you can escalate a charge just because you use a certain kind of baggie, right? Like you can go from like less than a gram to more than a gram with so a gram is very small amount. A dollar bill weighs a gram.
Okay.
So it's easy to get. Let's just say a gram is
probably weighs 3,
at least,
right?
So
Ziploc bags weighs 3. A sandwich bag.
What do you say? That's one sandwich bag. I didn't hear the words. 1.
Sandwich bag weighs 1. I'm sorry. Yeah, sandwich bag weighs 1, but the Ziploc things with the little seal, they're like 3.
Okay. Yeah. And so that's why you'll see people put like cocaine in that like wax paper. That shit's super light. But I've definitely seen like cop shows where this guy has a misdemeanor amount unless you weigh the fucking baggie, and now they've got to take him in because the baggie added a gram of weight or something like that. Now you got 1.5 grams instead of half a gram of dope, and he's like, I only paid for 0.5 grams of dope. Like, well, you got a deal then. It's just like bullshit.
People who do enough pot in illegal areas, because they get away with it for so long and they exist in a group of friends who also consider it like not a big deal, can underestimate the risk that they're taking.
That's how I felt. Yeah.
Can I say something, dude? I'm 37 years old. I was smoking weed since I was 16, and my weed smoking habits about it hasn't changed. Like when we found out that weed was legal, okay, we're still gonna smoke. Okay, when Colorado passed and made shit legalized, there were parades. They were fucking in Washington when the shit passed. There was no parades. It might have made a 5-second news story. We were just like, okay, so just smoke like cool. You know what I mean? Like no one, at least up in like the Pacific Northwest.
I'll never forget. Blade flew to a PAX with a box of blunts rolled with weed in his shirt pocket. Through airport security.
These aren't mine.
and I remember I met you outside of some building. I don't know where the fuck we were, but we were on a sidewalk, and you're just there with a fuck. He's like, you want to hit this blunt? I'm like, fuck yeah. How'd you get those here? How'd you get weed in a foreign city? And he's like, oh, I went through the airport with these. I'm like, where? He's like right here in my pocket.
I mean, I could be the one who's wrong, but I feel like that's a huge risk for. Maybe the benefit's not worth it. Like, I just exist in a world where everyone agrees that weed's not a big deal until you bump into some law enforcement officer who's got a hard on for weed being a big deal.
Yeah.
And then you're,
all right. So this is okay. I smoke Swishers. Okay.
Now a Swisher is when you buy a type of cigar, take that out and put the pot in. Am I on target?
Exactly. Yes. So when you buy Swishers, it comes in like, I buy like a 5-pack, right? And then each on the inside, there's 5 individually wrapped Swishers. So what I do is I unwrap it, roll one, and then put the shit back in, and then so it looks like an unopened Swisher.
Okay.
So even if a fucking cop looks at it, it looks like I just have a bag of Swishers, like I just box of Swishers.
But Swishers smell like cherries, and pot smells like pot. No.
Yeah. Well, if they take a good whiff of it, they're gonna know.
Yeah, if they really whiff it, but like I personally think that the smell of Swisher compact non-burnt weed in it is going to just smell. I think the Swisher smell overpowers the weed.
Okay.
To a big extent, it does. Not to a dog, though. Last time I flew out of Denver, they had a fucking dog like going person to person. And I had been smoking so much weed. I had weed in those pants an hour before, like copious amounts of weed. Just I was high in that line.
But you didn't have weed on you.
No, I didn't have any weed on me.
So,
but I'd had it all over me. I could, if I went, it was weed because I was stoned standing there.
Especially if you break it up with your fingers and your fingernails.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, but fingers are tacky.
The dogs would. I feel like potentially you're okay. The dogs would get excited. They would search.
He didn't smell shit, so I guess so.
But if he did, you wouldn't be in trouble for having smoked in Colorado previously.
No, but they'd have pulled me out of the fucking line, and they'd have like searched me and pulled all my shit out, and it'd be a whole stressful thing. It might make me late for my flight, might miss my flight. I've only missed one flight ever, and it sucks so much.
It does, yeah.
Yeah.
I had it for explosives. I used to get pulled out all the time.
Yeah, that was one of the scariest moments ever at the airport, was like having just been up there in Washington State and Oregon, like literally messing around with high explosive, like not just messing around with it like we hit a detonator, but like forming C4 like Play-Doh with my bare hands in the pants I was wearing. And at one point it was on my hands and I smeared it onto my pants, right? And not so much so you could see it, but it was like to get the stickiness off my hands. Yeah. I had been playing with det cord, TNT, C4, tons of ammonium nitrate, and I was wearing the exact same pants. And they pulled the guy right in front of me for the chemical swab. And I was just like, fuck, let's keep going. Let me get it going.
So I've got this story. I probably told it before, but like I have camera equipment that I kept in like a Pelican case. Yeah. And it's so dense in there that they almost always open it up and look at it because there's all these wires and lenses and shit that it captures the interest of the screeners when it goes through the X-ray. So then they swab it. And it comes back positive for explosives because they've been around explosives. So then they question you. And I just say, I've been around explosives. Sometimes I film. It was the Arkansas thing we did.
Yeah.
And it was like explosive dust, probably ammonium nitrate, I don't know, all over like the air. And it coated all my stuff. And usually they just talk to me briefly. They pull everything out. I have it in there just right. So it's a pain to put it back. And that's all that happens. But it can delay you. It can take 15 minutes or so.
Yeah. And I don't know what you flagged for. We did use ammonium nitrate and C4 on that trip, along with a det cord, ammonium nitrate, and C4 on the trip that you're referring to. I have no idea what you got flagged for, but like either. I'd have flagged for everything if they chemical tested my hands. Like it would have looked real bad. I already had my phone pulled up to one of my videos. Like I had it ready to play in case they tested me. So I could be like, look, I make this. Mm-hmm. They're like, a Russian, huh?
Yeah, they have a little small
Russian.
Like a handkerchief. It's like 2 inches by 2 inches. They just rub it all over my stuff, put it in a computer, and then it comes back positive.
Yeah, I hated dealing with that stuff. It's hard to explain some of the situations I've been in when you're in them. Like especially when I'm not doing anything wrong. You know, like you're in the right and you haven't done anything wrong, but it's just like, I don't want to deal with this and answer these questions.
Yeah, especially if you're leaving your flight.
Me. The knives are. I carry a knife in my pocket all the time, and I hate to forget that. Some people, half the time, by the way, I get through with a knife. The half I don't. Some guys are like, yeah. I mean, that's not that big of a deal. Other guys are really alarmed. And maybe that's like I am with you are with the pot. Like, this is not a big deal. This is a multi-tool. There's pliers on it. Are you concerned about that? Like, take it. Fine. But that doesn't resolve the situation?
I had this weapon, I guess you'd call it, that was just on a paracord attached to my backpack. I had like this nice, like compact military backpack this company had sent me. And they also made these things. It's shaped like a T. Sort of, and the bottom part of the T, or the top, if you were actually drawing a T, like goes in your fist. You grip it, and then there's a spike that comes out between your fingers, so you're holding like a spike. that's coming out, and it's all made of plastic, and it's real ergonomic. The base of it, the handle part, is wrapped in paracord, and the front is plastic, but it's, you know, there's like 30 grades of plastic, right? And it's whatever is the one that'll hold the best
one that's
edge.
metal.
It's the one that'll hold a sharp fucking edge and is like hard. And it's literally made, I guess, to go through fucking metal detectors and be a weapon. And I wore that thing on so many flights, just on my backpack, put the backpack in the overhead, and it just stayed clipped on there. And if they ever said anything, I'd take it. Just like when we went to Killington that time, I had a cigar lighter, and they were like, "Oh, look at this thing," because it was like a multi-tool cigar lighter that like had a punch and the chopping thing, and then it was a jet lighter, and it was like a $300 lighter.
And they took it.
He was super cool about it. He's like, I can confiscate it, or I could mail it back to your home. And I'm like, what if you just drained all the fluid out of it? He's like, well, the regulation says no pressurized container, so I guess if we depressurize it, you're good to go, huh? He took an ink pen out of his pocket, went psst, and handed it back to me. Cool guy of the fucking decade.
That's really nice of him.
Yeah, it
most
was super
of those
nice.
People aren't like those TSA people aren't in school.
Yeah, I'd gotten that thing for Christmas. It was super expensive for a fucking lighter. But at the time I was smoking a lot of cigars. I had gotten into that as one of my niche hobbies or whatever. I'm always doing nonsense like that.
Every time I see someone smoke a cigar, especially now watching The Sopranos, I'm like, man, that looks awesome. But I just know if I went out and I bought a cigar, I'd get like 3 puffs in until I was like, this sucks, and I don't feel like I look cool.
So I would get, when we were in Vegas, they had a really nice humidor room at the hotel I was staying in, and I went in there and I got really nice peach cigars, like not like a gas station Swisher or anything, but like a really legit like peach cigar. It wasn't as big as like a Tony Soprano deal. It was like probably
like a cigarillo kind of thing.
Yeah, but bigger than that, somewhere in between, like probably about as big around as your pointer finger. And I loved those fucking things. They were peach, and I would smoke those all the time. I liked them a lot.
God